What is your NSFW secret that you are proud of? Story 1. I had a partner who told some friends when they were talking about sex that his dick is as big as his heart. It was a compliment that warmed my apparently big heart, not because of my dick, but because she used my heart as a point of reference. Story 2. I've been a full-time professional erotica writer for more than a decade now. If I ever have to write a CV for a normal job, I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do. Story 3. This probably doesn't count, but 20-some years ago, I was having sex with a gorgeous woman. While doing our thing, I let out a ridiculously large fart. The next morning, we're off to get breakfast at a restaurant. I mention how embarrassed I am at the fart. She tells me she didn't say anything because she thought it was her that had farted. We had a wonderful relationship for years and are still close friends. Story 4. By no means do I have a huge dick, so when I saw a urologist for ED medication, I made a joke about not being able to see my penis to insert the needle. BTW, if you have severe ED or don't want to worry about Viagra on a full stomach, Trimix is absolutely your best bet. The nurse then commented, "Trust me, you have way more real estate than the rest of the men that come in here." I felt like I was on top of the world, but my wife wasn't thrilled when I told her what happened. Story 5. I've done 2 gigs as a nude male model for bachelorette parties. It was a lot of fun. At the second gig, they specifically wanted me to pose with an erection. I absolutely loved the experience at it. My inbox is overwhelmed with people, let's be honest, 90% dudes, wanting to see the pictures. I shared it with the first few, but I can't keep DMing everybody. There's literally too many of you guys. Story 6. Getting a blowy from the HR manager in her office. Story 7. I got a fertility test to make sure my chemo treatments didn't render me infertile. They didn't. When giving me the results over the phone, the tech couldn't hide how impressed they were by the volume I produced. A professional QM expert told me I shoot huge loads. Story 8. Tens of thousands of young people have seen my penis. Post-college, I worked at another university where they provided my medical care out of their own facilities. My primary care physician was the one who would give the safe sex and other adult lectures to incoming freshmen. Part of his lecture was about body piercing, the dangers of not doing it safely, etc. As this was early internet days, there weren't a lot of pictures he could reference during the lecture. When I had my first annual exam and he saw my Prince Albert piercing, he asked if he could photograph it and use it in his lecture. It was an odd request, but I agreed. A few months later, he emailed me with the PowerPoint presentation he used, and sure enough, my dick was in it. He did this lecture for over 20 years, twice a year, for all incoming students. I like to think I might have helped someone get into piercing safely, or even sparked a conversation that went to a place that some young person never expected it to go. Story 9. In my last job, I had to go to a building for 4 hours every Friday to flush their water systems. The company had moved out, but still had a couple years on its lease, so it was completely empty except for this cutie manning the reception. We got chatting, which turned into flirting, and before long we were at it like rabbits all over the place. She left after about a year and a half, but it was a lot of fun while it lasted. Story 10. I was the president of the student government in college. I had an office that was just a desk behind a cubicle. My girlfriend, the secretary of the student government, liked to give me the Clinton while people were right on the other side of that knot wall. On the one hand, frequent blowjobs was really cool. On the other hand, the thrill of potentially getting caught isn't for me. Story 11. One time years ago, I was in bed with my girlfriend watching a movie, and she made a move, but I wanted to use the bathroom before getting into it. I excused myself, used the bathroom, and come back into my room to see she's already naked waiting on me. So I'm like, oh damn, it's about to go down. I can't just jump out of my clothes. I gotta amp this up on my end to build some anticipation. I start to undress slowly, get out of my pants, and start rolling up my belt like she's seen me do 100 times before I set it down. Except this time, I unraveled it like a whip to hit the light switch and her jaw hit the floor. I proceeded to lay down a solid 45 to 55 seconds of acceptable whining. What I did not tell her was the day before my roommate and I were bored, and we spent like 2 hours in the basement just seeing if we could hit the light switch with our belts because we're simple. Story 12. I once drank about 300 millimole of water directly out of my lab's NanoPure water system. This is highly purified and deionized water. In fact, it's about as pure as water can get. Internet opinion is divided over whether or not this is safe or if it will kill you, and I wanted to see for myself. I can report that it is not pleasant to drink and is probably not safe to drink in large volumes. It tastes horrible, probably because it leaches minerals out of your teeth and mouth tissues literally as you're drinking it. And very shortly after consuming it, you will feel a massive need to urinate, which is probably not a good sign either. Story 13. I banged a lot of cougars ages 50, 60 plus, but deaf, not over 65. It's surprisingly easy, and it's a great time. Older women are totally fine with just having a good time together and going on our way afterwards. I still keep in touch with some of them, including my friend's aunt. Edit. For those asking, there's no tips I can give other than going to bars and socializing LOL. Story 14. I hooked up with a good friend a bunch of years ago who had recently gotten out of a neglectful, unhappy relationship. We were just doing it as friends, and everything went back to normal the next day. But immediately afterward, when we were lying there catching our breath, I saw that she had tears in her eyes. I asked if she was all right, and she said, yeah, not to worry. She just hadn't been touched or paid attention to properly in such a long time. She'd forgotten it could be like that. That made me feel 10 feet tall. I was even happier when she met the man she wound up marrying, who treats her like a queen. I like to think I helped her realize what she deserved. Story 15. My first time ever fingering a girl, I made her come so hard she cried. I stopped and had to ask her if she was okay, to which she responded that she didn't know why she was crying and had like a sensory overload. She rated me a 12-10 at my finger game. I had her set the tempo and tell me when to adjust. Playing guitar helps folks, especially with rhythm and endurance. Story 16. When my boyfriend, now husband, and I were just getting hot and heavy, made him come 6 times that night or morning. Thought it was gonna kill us both afterwards, but we were too horny to care at the time. It's not super impressive compared to other people's secrets, but I'm proud of it, TBH. Story 17. When my girlfriend and I were first dating, we were in my bed having sex. Suddenly, the bed frame buckled under us. I didn't want to stop, so we kept going before more of the frame collapsed. Afterwards, she laughed that it's a badge of honor to be having sex so vigorously that you pile drive them through the bed. I just felt bad that it was a cheap, shitty frame, but I do love the sentiment. Story 18. I worked the ramp for a major airline in the 90s. Nearly every flight has a corpse on it. Yes, you are probably flying with a dead person just beneath your feet. The boxes that transport the traveling dead were always cardboard, shaped like a coffin with the word head at the top. If you put the head the wrong way, fluids would drain out of orifices on the head, from what they told us. I moved the nomadic dead day after day after day. Off the tugs and up into the belly, there was a head and another. We moved animals a lot too, but the dead were more fascinating. I began to wonder who they were and where they were going. I talked to a friend that worked with me. He was a ramp worker during Vietnam. He said that occasionally a ramp agent would sit the corpse up so it was seated when the plane landed and spook the person opening the belly. My curiosity was just crazy, seeing these ghostly riders come aboard every day. Finally, I asked my co-worker what would happen if we looked inside. He climbed into the belly and opened one before I had time to think about it. I didn't pause to think that this could be a murder victim. It could be a drowning. It could be a desegmented soul that had a horribly unfortunate passing. The lid was up. I moved toward it. My heart was thundering. I had seen family in the casket, but this was in the wild, in a space that was everyday and normal. I saw the reflecting skin of a plastic sheath over the body. I crept closer, and there was the face of an older woman. Somebody's grandma. She was laying there, batteries dry and out of fuel. She looked at peace. She was beyond the world, and I was a mouth-gaped monkey looking at my future. I left the belly and drove home with the radio off. It was so surreal. I never asked about the mysterious people in the belly again. And to note, I only noticed the tail end of the headline on this, secret that you are proud of, as I wrote this. This was just a NSFW secret. No pride. I should have stayed curious. I feel bad that I snuck a peek at that quiet lady in her quiet box. Story 19. Got my parents to leave the house so I could put my friend in a situation to lose his virginity. With his crush, I am friends with the both of them, and they were both shy and scared of each other. I got them to start dating afterwards and set up when he lost his V card. They are married now with a one child born and one on the way, been together 8 years now. Story 20. I became the biggest drug distributor at my university, mostly with bulk weed sales. I used to move about 5 to 10 lbs per week, selling to dealers to break it down to their users. I would travel weekly to the nearest large city to reload, then fill a huge suitcase bigger than me, all with vacuum-sealed bags, to return to my college town to chop. Originally, I started because I was a huge stoner and wanted to smoke for free, but kept reinvesting and buying more and more. And got really lucky meeting some important contacts. I treated it like a business and was professional and busy. I never told anyone my real name and had 3 cell phones. I would cycle between them, frequently getting fresh SIM cards. I became extremely successful over the 4 years I did it, making a lot of money and spending it all almost as quick. I used to show lavish parties and pay for everyone, or bring 5 to 6 friends to restaurants and nights out and pay for everything. It was an amazing experience overall, and it's hilarious that weed is now legal in Canada. I feel like a Prohibition-era smuggler, but unfortunately I can't really share my secret with anyone as I'm no longer part of that life, and it seems like forever ago. Story 21. A real NSFW work that happened at work. I once went out for a run during my lunch break at work, and my stomach started gurgling. Problem was, I was running in a rough neighborhood on the outskirts of DC and had nowhere safe to stop and use a bathroom. I miraculously make it back to the gate at my work's compound and had to run another 1 to 4 to the building and through another checkpoint, all the while trying not to shit myself. Due to my building security, I wasn't allowed to have my phone in most of the building, include the gym locker room, so I had to run to my car and drop my phone. I am 10 steps from my car when I cannot make it any further. I am squeezing my cheeks as hard as possible, taking 1 step at a time when I cannot hold it any longer. I am forced to squat right there in the middle of a covered parking garage and take a massive, horrific diarrhea dump. The first real kicker, I work at an intelligence agency and there are cameras everywhere, and again, it's a covered garage, so no rain is going to wash this away. And it fucking reeks. I just imagine someone coming out to their car at the end of the day and smelling the rot of death that left my body, and they are going to report it. And then security is going to check the cameras to see who the hell died in the parking garage. Okay, so I am now disgusting, but I have to pull my shorts back up and go inside and hope to God I don't see anyone I know before I can get to the locker room. I don't know how the hell I didn't have any napkins or clothes to use to clean some of the mess, but never again. I decide to take the quickest path to the locker room instead of the outside but longer route. In hindsight, why didn't I just stay outside? Which puts me walking through the ground floor main hallway. Now for the real kicker, I shit you not, as I am speed walking through trying to be invisible as I smell like literal shit. The fucking Baltimore Orioles mascot was walking through my work and stops me and hugs me and tries to strike up full-on conversation with me. I am dying inside and thinking, why the hell is the Baltimore Orioles mascot visiting an intel agency? I finally manage to escape and make it back to the locker room and throw away all my bottom clothes. To this day, I have never told my husband, but I have told many a lady friends, and we die of laughter at the ridiculousness of it all. It's so embarrassing, but also it's too funny not to share. Story 22. Secret to most people on my life, but not everyone. Went on vacation to Japan with some friends. Towards the end of our trip, my friends wanted to hang out at our hostel and play cards and relax for the day. I went to get a massage down the street from where we were staying. I don't speak, read, or understand Japanese. So after my massage, when the attractive lady started putting up numbers on her hands and saying something, I just went with it and realized she was asking if I wanted to pay more money. I did. And it led to me doing the bedroom bogey with 2 gorgeous Japanese women. 21-year-old me was quite confused, surprised, and very happy. Still get to hang that over my friends when we mention our Japan trip. Story 23, I had gone out drinking with a coworker of mine, lady. She ended up picking up a guy from a club, and I actually picked up a waitress. We all head back to my place. Bedroom, the clothes start coming off, the vibe is fun and sexy. I've done group stuff before, but it's definitely a rare occurrence, not a normal thing. but it's just not happening for this guy. It must not be his jam because after a minute, he asked my coworker if they can go back to his place by themselves. Topless, I watch her eyes travel from his dick to mine as the waitress is already going to town. Sorry, I think I'll stay here. I watched the soul leave that poor man's body as B got dressed and excused himself. But I was obviously a bit preoccupied. Story 24. I did something with my fingers while I was fingering my wife that took her to another level of ecstasy. She said that she'd never felt anything that good and was almost worried she would go insane if I continued for too long. As to what I did with my fingers, I wish I had paid closer attention because I have not been able to replicate it since. Story 25. My deep throat game. I've been practicing with dildo. Haven't given any eye roll yet. I took my 9-incher down to the base the other day.